Okay, Assalamu alaikum everyone. We will talk today about IV infusion, in which it's another route of administration, but compared to whatever we talked before, we talked about before. So far, we talked about IV bolus, and we talked about extravascular, whatever extravascular route of administration. We have everything under that, and we talked about this, and both of them were one compartment model, and we were talking about first order kinetic. We will see what we will have here, and also they were single dose. So we will continue with talking about one compartment model and single dose, but for IV infusion model. If we remember, when we were talking about the IV bolus, so let's just go back to the IV bolus. We had the dose, amount in the body, and we have K, which is the elimination rate constant for the IV bolus. Okay, and again, we are talking about single dose. We are talking about one compartment and first order elimination. When we have this, the profile was on rectilinear concentration versus time is the same as we know, which is mono-exponential declining profile, which is the profiles that you have in your third slide of the IV infusion slides. Okay, but if you have the information about the therapeutic window of the drug, so we have the minimum effective concentration and we have the minimum toxic concentration, we know that the drug is effective only at this concentration, right? In which we are at concentration that is higher than the minimum effective concentration, and it's safe below the minimum toxic concentration. So the time at which the drug is active is only from 0 until this time. Okay, but once you take the drug, you don't have any control in it. You just take the drug or administer the drug or give the drug for your patient. You don't have any control of the concentration during this time. You just have it. For example, if we are having this profile, okay, for CV versus time, IV bolus, we have in here, if this is the minimum effective concentration, this is the minimum toxic concentration, we have here the concentration that is toxic of the drug, and this time we can't control it. The drug is toxic, but we can't do anything because the drug is administered already. Once you get the drug, you don't have any control in that. In addition, you don't have control on the concentration during this period. If you want the drug to have, if you want your drug to have the effective concentration, which is this or this, for a longer period of time, you don't have it in the IV bolus. That's why the IV infusion route of administration is there, in which we are giving the drug, and this is what will be, and we will talk why we will have this profile. Usually this is our desired concentration or targeted concentration, sometimes it's called the clinical desired concentration. It depends. Okay, so if you have the therapeutic window of the drug, we have minimum effective concentration and we have minimum toxic concentration here. You can control one using the infusion. You can control first the concentration that you need, the magnitude of the concentration. So if you are talking about this desired concentration, you can control the concentration, and again you can control the time at which you need the drug to have this concentration. Okay, which means if, let's say, this scenario is here and the IV infusion, CV versus time, and we have the minimum effective concentration and minimum toxic concentration, and we have this profile. Okay, and we did the measurement, or we noticed that the patient or the individual had side effects, so we can, for example, we are here, we can directly terminate, okay, the infusion, so this won't happen, and directly the drug will be eliminated. Okay, we will talk about the details of this, but first of all, you know that we have the advantage of the IV infusion, that we are controlling the concentration that we need as magnitude, and also we are controlling the time of the desired concentration that we need that concentration to be there, in addition to other clinical advantages of the infusion. For example, when we are giving the drug such as antibiotic with other IV fluids that include, such as, let's say, normal saline, for example, so we can give the drug with other drugs or with other solutions or solvents. I just noticed that the mic is away. Okay, so let's go with the one idea about the volume. We know that when we are giving the IV infusion, we have the bags, which is usually, this is one of the advantages of the drug. When we are giving the drug with IV infusion, we have it with large volume, right? So we have the concentration of the drug in here in the bag, and we have it that is given with a cannula for sure, and we have something that controls the flow rate, okay, which is the same knob that you know that the nurse is playing around with it to increase the rate or decrease the rate. Okay, so we have concentration of the drug here, and we have flow rate here to control whatever is entering the vein. Okay, so if we are talking about math wise, we know that the concentration is mass over volume. Okay, if we multiply this with the flow rate, sometimes it's called infusion rate, but usually it's called flow rate. It's the unit of this is volume, how much you are getting inside the vascular system volume per time. Okay, this multiplication of those two terms will give you what we call infusion rate. Okay, this infusion rate as a unit will be what? Mass over time. This is an idea to determine the infusion rate as amount per unit of time that is entering the vascular system by knowing the flow rate that you can control and the concentration that you have in the formulation that you have. This is the bag that we have the drug in. Okay, this is a side note that we will use when we are doing our calculation. Let's do some let's call it remembering some of the stuff that we already know. So let's remember zero order before we go into details. This is your 8th slide. Okay, when we were talking about zero order, we have A that is going to be, this is in the introduction of the whole thing in basic kinetic, and the first chapter, it was the last part if you want to go and review it. When A is going to be, and we wanted to talk about the elimination of A, but under zero order kinetic, we have this that is equal to this, if you remember, right? And we call this zero order constant, and we call this rate of elimination if we are talking about the elimination of the amount of A, right? The unit, this was constant, and its unit was mass over time, and the unit of this, it's equal to the unit of this, and it's equal to mass over time. Okay, So when we are talking about infusion, so this is just a side note, okay? When we are talking about infusion and one compartment model, we have a process here that is related to the infusion. We have process here that is related to elimination, okay? And we have the drug that is given as infusion, okay? And for sure we have the amount as you know here. So again, we will have this as first order, okay? This is zero order. By default, we are giving the drug under constant rate, okay? So again, we are talking about one compartment dose, our assumption, one compartment, single dose, and first order disposition or elimination, right? We can't just say it's first order because we have first order here and zero order here, okay? So we want to talk about the rate of change of the drug, whatever is happening here. But let's start off whatever that you already know, which is this, the elimination. This part, the elimination. بعدين if I want to talk about the elimination rate only, it will be, as we know already, decrease, right? Minus k first order kinetic multiplied to the amount in the body at certain time. So this will be equal to the rate of elimination. If I want to talk about the rate of infusion, okay, this is zero order. According to zero order here, it will be equal to, it's increasing, but it will be zero order. This is first order, okay? This will be what? It will be zero order, so it will be equal to K naught, or what we call it R, as rate of infusion, okay? Both of them together, we call it dxp over dt, the change, the rate of change and the amount per unit of time at certain time. So this will be our differential equation of the model that we have, okay?